Imagine an apartment where every door is tightly locked before darkness falls. No one dares to leave their room at night, and if someone knocks on your door or screams for help, you must never open it, because once night arrives, this apartment no longer belongs to humans. The residents slowly begin turning into terrifying monsters. They take on human forms, trick people into opening their doors, and then brutally attack them, draining their blood. When morning comes, they disappear back into the darkness. That's why everyone locks themselves inside their rooms every night. But one day, a new resident named Hyun-soo moves into the apartment. After losing his parents in a car accident, he has come here hoping to start a new life. What he doesn't know is that he has chosen one of the most dangerous places imaginable. On his very first night, while preparing to sleep, Hyun-soo hears a strange and terrifying sound outside. He opens the door and finds the entire hallway covered with scattered noodle packets. As he follows the trail, a horrifying sight appears. A severed cat's head rolls out from around the corner. Then, a blood-covered hand reaches out of the darkness, grabs the head, and pulls it back. Terrified, Hyun-soo runs back to his room and hides under his blanket. Moments later, he hears footsteps approaching his door. Then the doorbell rings. A girl outside starts crying for help, claiming something mysterious is chasing her. Hyun-soo checks the security camera and sees her standing outside, begging him to open the door. He tells her to stay calm and tries calling the police, but there is no network. With no other option, he approaches the door, but just before opening it, he remembers something and asks the girl to show him both of her hands. Her expression suddenly changes. Blood starts pouring from her nose and she begins violently banging on the door as if she's about to break it down. Then loud music suddenly starts playing from upstairs. The mysterious girl immediately walks away toward the sound. As soon as she leaves, Hyun-soo grabs a broom and steps outside. At the hallway corner, he meets a man named Sae-gang and asks if he has seen the strange woman. Before Sae-gang can answer, Hyun-soo suddenly collapses unconscious. Meanwhile, Ji-soo is practicing singing inside her room when someone knocks on her door. As she approaches, she sees a terrifying woman standing outside, mumbling and screaming. The woman suddenly starts pounding on the metal door with incredible force, leaving deep dents in it. Terrified, Ji-soo grabs a baseball bat, but the noise suddenly stops. When she approaches the door, she discovers that the person she feared was actually Sae-gang. She tells him everything that just happened. Seeing bloodstains across the floor, they suspect the mysterious woman may have escaped through the window. Elsewhere, another resident named Lee has no idea what is happening. He's preparing to leave for his night shift, but the elevator is out of order, forcing him to take the stairs. When he reaches the ground floor, he discovers that the apartment's main entrance is locked. Several new residents are trapped there as well, and none of their phones have any signal. Desperate to avoid being late for work, Lee breaks into the security room. A woman tries calling 119 using the landline, but that phone doesn't work either. An elderly man starts pressing buttons on the control panel and accidentally finds the switch that opens the shutter. As the shutter begins rising, a woman holding her dog notices something strange outside. A terrifying shadow, nearly 3 meters tall, is standing directly in front of the entrance. Lee also spots it as he returns from the control room. He screams, but it's already too late. The monster smashes through the glass and charges inside. Using its long, slimy tongue, it grabs a man, lifts him into the air, and begins draining his blood. When the body drops to the floor, nothing remains except bones. Before the monster can attack anyone else, Lee grabs a fire extinguisher and sprays it directly at the creature. Surprisingly, the monster starts backing away. Lee immediately shouts for everyone to close the shutter. The terrified old man finally snaps out of his shock and runs toward the control room to shut it. But just as the rolling shutter started coming down, the gas in Lee's fire extinguisher ran out. Now they had no way to stop the monster. The very next moment, the monster started moving toward them again. Just then, a girl suddenly came running and pushed the monster with all her strength, knocking it outside. Lee immediately stood under the shutter so the girl could get back inside. But as she started running toward them, the monster suddenly grabbed her leg with its claws and badly injured her. At the last second, Lee grabbed her hand and pulled her inside. Just as the shutter was about to close, the monster's nearly 3-meter-long tongue suddenly shot inside at lightning speed. But the shutter closed just in time, trapping its tongue in the middle. The girl's life was saved by a narrow margin. The very next moment, the monster pulled its tongue back with all its strength and disappeared into the darkness. Once the danger was over, the people who had been hiding in fear slowly started coming out. But everyone had the same question. What exactly was that thing? An old man nervously said that it had hands and legs just like a monster. But what Lee said left everyone shocked. He told them that it wasn't actually a monster. It was one of them. When they looked outside to find out the truth, that there wasn't a single normal human in sight. Instead, terrifying monsters of all kinds were roaming around everywhere. At the same time, a girl was walking down the apartment stairs while talking on the phone. Suddenly, a terrifying sound started coming from above her head. As soon as she looked up, the lights on the floor suddenly turned on. She panicked and quickly started running downstairs, but in her hurry, she twisted her ankle and fell down the stairs. She was still trying to get back up when the terrifying sound suddenly became even louder. The girl nervously turned around and saw the same man, Seg, standing there. Relieved to see him, she took a breath, but before Seg could understand what was happening, the terrifying woman in red suddenly attacked him from behind and bit his shoulder badly. The girl froze in fear after seeing this, but Seg grabbed the woman by her hair and threw her away. As he checked his injury, the woman suddenly attacked him again. This time, Seg immediately grabbed her by the throat. That's when Seg noticed the apartment number written on her forehead. He instantly realized that this was the same woman who had been trying to break through people's doors earlier. Without wasting any time, he punched her hard in the head, sending her crashing to the floor. But the very next moment, she strangely got back up and started moving toward the girl. Seg kicked her with full force, sending her straight into the wall. But Seg didn't stop there. He kept kicking her repeatedly. The horrifying scene left the girl standing nearby, completely frozen in fear. Meanwhile, Hyun-soo had also regained consciousness. He wanted to know what was happening outside, so he started searching for answers on the internet. Lee was looking for the same information. Then, both of them came across the same post. It said that this wasn't a disease but a curse. The post explained that people who were about to turn into monsters would first start bleeding from their noses and hearing strange voices. After that, they would slowly transform into terrifying monsters. Finally, the post warned that if anyone started showing these symptoms, they should kill themselves as soon as possible. Before the post could explain how to survive these monsters, the entire internet suddenly went down. At that exact moment, Hyun-soo's stomach started growling loudly from hunger. That's when he remembered that half a box of instant noodles was still lying outside. Gathering his courage, he slowly opened the door, but the moment he looked outside, he was horrified. A terrifying monster was using the door for support and slowly moving toward him. Hyun-soo immediately covered his mouth to make sure he didn't make even the slightest sound. The monster's head was half missing, but its hearing was extremely powerful. Even the smallest sound could lead it straight to its prey. So Hyun-soo slowly reached for a broom lying nearby to protect himself. But then, a faint sound reached the monster's ears. It immediately turned toward Hyun-soo, but before it could attack, Lee's walkie-talkie suddenly went off. The moment it heard the sound, the monster attacked in the opposite direction, saving Hyun-soo's life. Now he couldn't even gather the courage to make the slightest sound. The monster slowly started moving toward him. Hyun-soo remained completely still and silent, and before long, the monster walked out of his room. But before he could breathe a sigh of relief, he suddenly heard some movement from downstairs. Looking through the window, he saw a man heading down the building to search for food and supplies. Before leaving, he told his daughter that he would bring food back soon and asked her to take care of her little brother until then. But before he could even finish speaking, a terrifying monster with a huge eye suddenly appeared in front of him. The man was so terrified that he accidentally fell straight down from the 12th floor. Seeing this, his daughter screamed loudly, and that scream immediately caught the attention of the giant-eyed monster. Just as the monster was about to attack the children, a heavy monitor suddenly fell from above and smashed directly onto its head. The sudden attack enraged the giant-eyed monster. It stretched its long neck like a snake and launched itself straight toward Hyun-soo's window. The next moment, the monster wrapped its long neck around Hyun-soo like a python. Its grip was so powerful that Hyun-soo began suffocating almost instantly. For a moment, it seemed like there was no way he could survive. But then, a gunshot suddenly rang out, and the monster's long neck was instantly severed in half. Its huge eye turned completely white. When Hyun-soo nervously looked outside, he saw his neighbor, Uncle Han, standing there with a gun pointed at the monster. He had fired at exactly the right moment and saved Hyun-soo's life. And the craziest part was that even after shooting the monster, he casually continued drinking his beer. Hyun-soo was about to say something when Uncle Han immediately gestured for him to stay quiet. Then, he showed him a cardboard sign he had prepared beforehand. It said, "Don't make any noise. The monsters are attracted to sound, and they're almost impossible to kill." After reading it, Hyun-soo immediately looked downstairs. The giant-eyed monster that had appeared to be dead just moments ago had somehow recovered and slowly walked away, leaving Hyun-soo completely shocked. Hyun-soo wanted to work together with Uncle Han to save the two children. But when he reached their apartment, he discovered that Uncle Han was unable to walk. That meant the responsibility of saving the children now rested entirely on Hyun-soo's shoulders. However, Uncle Han wasn't an ordinary man. He had plenty of experience making weapons, so he modified Hyun-soo's weapon by adding an electric current to it. giving him a chance to fight the monsters. But he also warned Hyun-soo that even this weapon wouldn't actually kill the monsters. So, instead of fighting them, he had to avoid them and escape whenever possible. Armed with his new electric weapon, Hyun-soo went out alone to rescue the children. But the moment he stepped into the corridor, he once again came face to face with the terrifying headless monster. As the situation became dangerous, he immediately ran into the elevator and hid inside. He stayed completely silent for a while, waiting for the monster to leave. When he finally thought the danger had passed, he slowly peeked outside. But then he realized that the buzzing sound of a fly had already attracted the monster's attention. Hyun-soo took full advantage of the opportunity and drove his electric knife directly into the monster's body. A powerful 100,000-volt shock surged through its body, causing the monster to go completely limp. Hyun-soo knew he wouldn't get another chance like this, so he immediately ran away. But he hadn't gone very far when the monster came after him again. The next moment, it swung its long arm, sending its tentacles straight toward Hyun-soo. Luckily, this monster was completely blind, which allowed Hyun-soo to avoid its attack once again. Seeing the monster moving toward him, Hyun-soo quickly picked up 2 balls lying nearby and threw them in the opposite direction. The moment the monster heard the sound, it turned toward the balls. Hyun-soo took advantage of the distraction and drove his electric knife straight into its body again. This time, the electric shock was so powerful that the monster collapsed to the ground within seconds. After successfully outsmarting the monster, Hyun-soo finally reached the apartment of the 2 siblings. He first calmed them down and then began taking them outside to safety. But the moment the 3 of them stepped out of the room, the monster virus inside Hyun-soo suddenly became active. Blood immediately started pouring from his nose. But then we found out that he had also been infected during the fight with the monsters. That meant he could turn into a monster at any moment. Hyun-soo's body started rapidly giving up on him. It looked like he was about to completely transform into a monster. But just then, the moment a door slammed into him, he fell to the ground. The next second, a gigantic monster appeared in front of him with a terrifying smile on its face. It smashed through the wall with all its strength and entered the room. The moment it got inside, its eyes immediately fell on the 2 children, and it started moving toward them. As soon as it reached its hand toward them, Hyun-soo grabbed its leg tightly and told the siblings to run as fast as they could. But seeing them run away, the muscle monster once again showed that terrifying smile on its face. The next moment, it kicked Hyun-soo with tremendous force. Then, in a fit of rage, it started raining punches on him. It wanted to kill him. Just then, 2 of Hyun-soo's friends arrived. Han immediately attacked the monster with his sword, striking it repeatedly until it collapsed to the ground within seconds. Meanwhile, Jisoo took advantage of the opportunity and quickly pulled Hyun-soo out of the rubble. After that, the 2 of them carried him into a safe room. Slowly, Hyun-soo's darkened eyes started returning to normal. Now, no one could understand whether he had actually become a monster or was still human. Meanwhile, the 2 siblings ran into the corridor, but suddenly they came face to face with the same blind monster. The moment he saw it, the little brother wet his pants out of fear. Then his sister remembered what Hyun-soo had told them. He had warned them that a blind monster was roaming the corridor. It couldn't see, but it attacked whenever it heard a sound. Remembering this, the girl immediately covered her little brother's mouth tightly. Both of them held their breath and stood completely still without making a single sound. Luckily, after a few moments, the blind monster walked away. But before the siblings could even breathe a sigh of relief, the muscle monster appeared behind them again. Terrified, both children screamed loudly. And then suddenly, the blind monster came back after hearing the children's screams. Taking advantage of the opportunity, the sister grabbed her little brother's hand and ran away. Meanwhile, the muscle monster grabbed the blind monster and started raining punches on it. After that, it threw the blind monster straight out of the window. Then it once again started chasing after the children. The siblings hadn't even gone very far when the muscle monster found them again within seconds. It slowly started moving toward them. Terrified, both children closed their eyes. They thought there was no way they could survive. But then, a woman suddenly came out of her room while pushing a baby stroller. She looked at the monster as if she knew it very well. She pleaded, "Have mercy on these little children. Please let them go." But then the monster smiled, and as the woman fell to the ground, its eyes landed on her baby. She started crying and begging the monster to spare her child, but instead, the monster brutally crushed the baby under its feet. The woman could only scream helplessly. She couldn't do anything to save her child. After that, the monster knocked her to the ground with a single punch. Just then, Hyun-soo arrived there with his 2 friends. But it was already too late. The muscle monster was standing right in front of them. Before they could do anything, the woman lying behind them suddenly started mutating after coming into contact with the monster. The next moment, she lunged straight at the muscle monster. That's when everyone realized that she had also been infected. Her eyes had turned completely black. Yet the mother inside her was still fighting to save the lives of those children. Meanwhile, Han stepped forward and kept provoking the muscle monster. "You're just a big inflated balloon." Hearing this, the monster completely lost its temper and quickly started chasing after Han. Meanwhile, Hyun-soo took both siblings safely to Uncle Han's apartment. At the same time, Han deliberately kept running from the muscle monster throughout the corridor, distracting its attention. At that moment, Jisoo reached the woman lying on the floor. It was obvious that she was also about to turn into a monster. As the situation became worse, Jisoo immediately picked up her baseball bat. She thought she would have to kill the monster. But the very next moment, the woman regained consciousness. Her eyes also returned to normal. Seeing this, Jisoo breathed a sigh of relief, and the two of them immediately headed toward Uncle Han's apartment. Meanwhile, Han continued running and trying to escape from the muscle monster. But within just a few moments, he found himself trapped at the very end of the corridor. There was now no way to retreat. He tightened his grip on the sword and stood there ready to fight. Just as the monster reached him, finally, the threat of the muscle monster was gone, at least for a while. After that, everyone gathered inside Uncle Han's apartment. For the first time in a long while, they finally got a few moments of relief. They all sat together, ate peacefully, and waited for some kind of help from outside. But even this small hope didn't last for long. The next morning, a new disaster struck the apartment. A woman secretly opened the main gate shutter while making sure no one noticed. As she started removing the things blocking her way to get outside, the people inside immediately caught her. Crying, she showed them the location on her phone and explained that her little daughter was running toward the apartment and that she couldn't leave her alone at any cost. But the others knew that if the shutter was opened, the lives of everyone inside the apartment would be put at risk. In the middle of this argument, the same little girl suddenly came running toward the apartment. She was just about to reach the shutter when she suddenly stumbled and fell to the ground. Lee was about to go and help her when a soldier suddenly risked his own life and ran toward the girl. But before he could reach her, the tongue monster hiding in the darkness suddenly pierced straight through the chests of both of them. Everyone watching was left completely horrified. The girl's mother let out a painful scream. Seeing her own daughter die right in front of her eyes completely broke her. Lee immediately grabbed the woman and pulled her backward before placing a heavy cabinet in their path. But the very next moment, the monster's long tongue pierced straight through the cabinet and entered the room. It was desperately searching for its next victim. The leader was completely frozen in fear. He knew very well that if he made even the slightest mistake, he would end up exactly like that little girl. After a few moments, the monster finally retreated on its own. Meanwhile, the mother who had just lost her daughter completely lost control of herself. In her anger, she blamed everything on Lee. She started believing that if Lee had wanted to, he could have saved her daughter. But she had forgotten that if Lee hadn't stepped in, no one there would have survived. Meanwhile, on the 8th floor, Hyun-soo and his two friends decided to go down to the 1st floor and find out what was happening. Before they left, Uncle Han upgraded and strengthened all 3 of their weapons. Fully prepared, they slowly began making their way toward the stairs. But after walking only a short distance, they suddenly noticed a man's dead body lying there. The 3 carefully approached the body. The moment they examined it, they realized that the man hadn't been dead for very long. This is where part 1 ends. If you want to see the next parts, let me know in the comments.